Good evening, guys. And I just want to know, like, how many of in the crowd is developers? Can you raise your hand? Okay. And how many of us are just using pair programming at the moment? Okay, some guys. Okay, and how many of you know Java? That's good. I like Java background. That's good. So thanks for me having over for this talk. And basically, this is about me. I'm a founder of London IT Contractors Meetup Group. All of you can hear me clearly? And there's some 1,100 members on this. And the Talk Fields conference I run. And tomorrow is a conference happening, Agile to London. So I'm hosting it tomorrow. And I'm organizer of a London dev community. It's clearly, you can read it out. Some members are there. Personally, myself, I specialize in Java API-based development work and automation testing using Cucumber and Selenium framework is my favorite one at the moment. I use Selenium as well, but I'm really liking Selenium. And at present, I'm helping blockchain startups, some Indian startups to expand in Europe and vice versa. So I'm based in WeWork, Moorgate, working there. As a technically, like in the past, I've worked with these JP Morgan, Barclays, HSBC, UBS, and BBC News recently. So my last role was in HSBC in February. I was with them, and pretty much financial background, typical Java full stack guy, and this is what I'm doing. Okay, so what is the pair programming? So I think most of the part is good. Rob has already created a heat around it, and it's really easy for me. It will be very, breeze for me to go through, and there will be some common element. I will quickly skip through that. The same stuff, you know about it. So now there's some pictures there around it, like what the pair programming is all about. Don't go for the war one, like one of my friend was pointing it, but just we are here to create, some jars, not war. So this is like in every, spectrum of life, we want to pair with someone. And that's the key thing about it. And we want to use the same principle when we do in our day-to-day work. And so there are different patterns, like from my experience. So to be honest, I haven't referred any books around it. So whatever I've done in whatever my experience I have, so I will go through some of the patterns I have discovered. And maybe you find some, value in this. So one model I have seen is called 100% pair programming. So I think that's what people try to achieve it. So some of the places, the real idea is, okay, we will be having a full 100% pair programming mode. There'll be only one, machine, or you will be just supposed to work on all the stories together. So there are two devs working on a stories or any task together, and they just do 100% pair programming. And this one is, of course, like there are features around it. I'll go through some point. There are less distraction, leads to higher productivity. So as I said, like you take lesser breaks, you're more focused about your tasks. So because two persons are sitting together, right? So you need to be kind of a whole day, like focusing on it. And sometimes it builds a better team building and communication. And I just want to be saying on one part is I just made these slides today only. So Monday, Ben he told me like, okay, we are doing some pair programming meetup. So you want to give a talk? I say I've run several online, pair programming and meetup stuff. So I can give it a, shot. So if you have any glaring mistakes, please let me know. After that, I would like to have a feedback on this. So in this one, like really helpful for pairing with a complex task involving cross-functional skills. So my point is, let's say sometime you're a backend guy and you have a front-end guy. And if you have this kind of a cross-functional, pairing, that really effective because you are both like, complementing each other. Because this is the ideal scenario. If you really want to pair, let's say you are sitting with an Angular guy and he's doing some kind of a tokens and you have to manage this on a server side. So there are different ways of doing it, and it's quite complex as well because you have a very, lot of solutions to implement the same functionality. So this is really complement, like you can go through, the front end guy can complement their part and you get to learn a lot. For example, from my experience, like I try to be full stack guy, but I have realized I'm very strong on a server side. So my flavor is, I really like, I can see the code, I can go through any code like Angular JS, React JS, I understand that part. it really excites me when somebody does that. But with the experience I've learned, I'm very strong on like JMS, enterprise integration. Those things come naturally to me. So this is like some complementing part as well. If you pair, so try to pair on some kind of a cross-functional things, right? There's immediate knowledge sharing. There's a better domain knowledge. So basically, when you're working on some stories, so you are not, because everyone you're building domain knowledge as well. And the pair rotates on daily basis. There's no dependency in terms of functionality or domain attack. So they are clearly. You can pick up some ID keyboard shortcuts. So when you work with some other guy, say, hey, I like this shortcut. You're doing it, and you pick up a lot of cool stuff out of it. Hey, you're writing PSVM and simply pops out everything, like some other cool things, like ID features. That's the one part I liked it when I especially pair with other guys, because you get to learn a lot. So everyone has some special set of SDKs. They have a popular settings on their terminal. So these are you can actually pick this up very good way. And there's a aspect about like programming style, especially a function style of programming. So I've seen in I personally went from Java 7 to Java 8, like when functional style of programming introduced. And I still see the best way I learned it by pairing with other guys, right? So what kind of how flat map works, how different map kind of approach works in a Java 8 syntax. So any programming, let's say you want to learn some new addition has come. So if you pair with others, so you get to learn that part very easy with them. That's the one observation I have. Now there's a pair pressure to deliver functionality on time. So you are sitting together, you are working as a pair, you have some challenge to do. So basically you have something to deliver and you really deliver it. And for me, from my experience, it requires solid 3 hours concentration to crack a complex code. So if you imagine if you're just working alone on a piece of things, so sometimes you have a daily stand-up, then you have some team meeting comes up, so you don't sit down, focus on just one piece of thing for 2 hours, non-stop. So when two guys are sitting there, so let's say you add 1.5 hours together, so you can really crack it out something really good if you're really looking at some complex part, because a focus is really a key thing, like when you really want to work on and deliver some kind of stuff. Sometimes I've seen from me, let's say you wake up at 4 a.m., 3 a.m., and you just sit down. And if you're really sitting there for 2-3 hours, so you really, that kind of a concentration is very difficult to achieve when you have a corporate, the work life. You have some meetings, some distractions, and you're not able to crack it properly. And there's a better problem solving. You can actually detect silly code mistakes, quite early, because you just kind of both of you are pairing. So these kind of issues will not, come later on. As I said, easy to onboard a new person in the team. And if you are pairing with the remote teams, you can pair using some tools like TeamViewer, and there's a GoToMeeting, there's VNC tools are there. There's some modern tools as well, like one of my friend, just told me about it. So I don't know, have you used this Cloud9 and Eclipse? I haven't used these online integrated IDs. I just use IntelliJ, tools kind of thing. Now there are remarks so basically the things around 100% pair programming it's really great when everybody buys in. So thing is, when whole layer like devs, management, and company, everybody say, okay, yeah, we agree, we are going to do this, right? So there should be a clarity on this. It could be slower at the start, but it gets better. And when you pairs, get comfortable with each other, so really, picks up very good. And management views is quite different about it. They say, okay, we have 2 devs, they're doing the job of one, person. And I can give you a lot of incident, personally I've seen it, the kind of things go on a management side. This is a cost will be doubled. We are not using our resources effectively. We have 2 machines, only these guys are sitting together. Why? This is a junior guys, slow down the senior guys, all kind of things. Why put 2 people on a job where just, one, these kind of things. And I have just one incident I saw. I was pairing with the one guy, he was remotely. And I was surprised, when you pair, so you don't, in the end, is only one guy is pushing the code, right? And eventually he was doing a lot of push thing, he was pushing a lot of code. And eventually the thing was there, people are saying is, hey, this is the guy who's doing the development, right? You're not doing it. So if you see them from management point of view, they are just interested in looking into your GitHub reports. What is your code commit? How many lines you're producing out of it? So these are the things really makes it a kind of a very challenging. So this is why I'm saying is it should be acceptance on all the level, and people should really understand, okay, they are pairing and only one person will be doing it. Now in the end is I think one person just raised about like a testing point of view. Like if you have a typical QA team, so they want to assign a one person for a bug. So they want to find out who wrote the code, and eventually they want to chase him like, can you give me a fix for this? But in this one, when we do 100% pair programming, there will be not a single person you can blame. The whole team, basically the pair, they own the ownership of the functionality. However, still it's challenging. In the end, is like only the person, like one person take the lead. Is okay, fine. You're busy with your story. I will fix the bugs. So I will do that part. And there's no clear ownership of the code, because these are the challenges from the management point of view. They say, okay, this is a 2-person, they are doing it, so we want to see who actually authored the code. And developers try to compete with each other, and then it is not productive. So I'm just giving you like basically scenarios. So not all the developers are same. Some people are like introvert, and then once they start like, for example, let's say 2% are driving, like everyone has a driving style. And especially when I go out with my wife and she's driving and I'm sitting on the next side. So I have this guy on a roundabout, you should have turned it, like these kind of things. Like, so when you have these kind of clashes and conflict, so how you overcome, this is the part comes in like how your team building skills are there, how you communicate with each other. And there should be like some level of acceptance from the team as well, like, a broader, like from a management point of view. And I've seen on the name of clean code, like, there's a lot of fuss are created. Oh, this code is not clean, this is not working. And there's some people like, you get this remarks, oh, I paired with this guy and he's not, doing the way, he's slowing me down. So these things really, the initial hiccups. But it just kind of we need to bear in mind. Maybe we need to train, the junior guys or the other pair. So basically the fear part you're saying is the people, they have a fear. They say, if I pair with him, and they will say, oh, my Java is not as good, or my knowledge about this is not as good as his. And I will be, caught, and they will say, okay. But the thing is, we need to accept the fact is everybody is learning. So there's always new changes are coming up, and we need to embrace, and we need to, make it a routine. And again, this is problematic for some developers. Now, if you have a 100% pairing, so of course, like everybody has a knowledge about the thing, and there are some developers, they believe on this, okay, I keep the knowledge to myself, I don't share with anyone, and this is a problem from them. Because this is everyone knows about it, the functionality. That's the problem, for those guys. Okay, so far this is I've covered 100% pair programming from my experience. So any questions so far on this, or shall I cover the questions later on, right? Okay, is it okay? Shall I carry on? Okay, there's a second pattern I see is on-demand pair programming. So I've worked in, so basically 100% pair programming. I worked in very few clients, to be honest, just 2 clients. When long time ago, and the Sky also, I know they are very popular in. And I have a feedback from some of the colleagues as well. They tell me how it works on 100% pair programming. On-demand pair programming, so in this one is like you can always request to pair in a daily Scrum. So whenever you need to pair with someone. So let's say you're working on your sprint, and you want to pair with someone. Okay, hey, on demand, like I am stuck with this, can you help me with this? And you decide on the time of a stand-up, and somebody will somebody can pair with you. And there's a second is like you can do a frequent pairing near end of sprint. So basically when your sprint is ending, like it's just kind of reaching towards the delivery point. So some guys you see, they will be able to deliver their stories because maybe their stories are less complex, or they have a less blockers, but you want to really deliver something, that time you can pair with, on demand. There's another pairing style I've seen is like, and we did in Barclays. So we used to use Sonar Cube, and it's like some code, quality tool. And after somebody goes to the report, mostly team lead, and then he picks up some person like who has authored the code, and we sat down together and pair with him and try to improve it together. But that's I really like that part, because the thing is you're doing your stuff delivery like for your stories, but in the end is somebody on the demand, you can pair with them. Okay, oh, I want to fix this, improve the code quality, and there's we used to do some regular activity of code review part as well, and during that as well we can selectively pick up a pair. Now in this one is you have a balanced approach, and it leads to a satisfaction on all levels, because the thing is you're doing the way you supposed to do your stories, like you work on your task, you are like normally on your own, and same time is when you demand, you can ask for it, so you have your own space as well. However, in like 100% pair programming, you say, because sometime I've seen it, like whenever you do a pair programming with someone, like you say 4 or 5 hours, you're very intense. You just kind of sitting with someone and doing pairing on some issues, but this approach gives you some kind of a mix of both the part. So you whenever you want, you can pair with someone. Other way around, you have a balanced approach, and management is also happy. They say, okay, fine, these guys are not just sitting together. And I've seen this thing, like when you two guys sit down together, the first thing is the whole management. To be honest with you, my reaction is, why you guys are working? If you tell in the next stand up, I paired with him and I was working on this, then the notion is maybe you're not competent enough, you're not understanding how this works. These kind of issues are there, like people have a lack of understanding, because in the end is we are just kind of developing something. There are some issues are there and we need to pair with someone. The third pattern is job interviews pair programming. So basically, the pair programming element is really crucial for job interviews, and that really works in a different way. So this is my understanding so far is, so you need to do a lot of acting when you go for job interviews pair programming. So you cannot skip that round, and it could be very expensive for you. One small mistake can just kind of lose your contract of maybe 100,000, 150,000, right? Just a small thing, and this is become very tricky with it, because when you do a normal daily basis, this is like for work, but when you go for interview, you have some other kind of you need to understand an unknown problem and you have to react it in a ways. So basically, in this one is like, if you say the person like who's judging you, so it's really help them out to understand like how you understanding the question, how's your thinking ability, whether you're asking questions and doing the TDD way. So TDD is a punchline. Like, so if you are not, so the thing is you need to do like go around test-driven development. So in a normal way, like in your daily work, you may not write tests first. But in this approach, when you for job interviews, you have to write a test first. You have to really stress about it. That's the only way I've seen. Like if you're not writing a test, that's first thing. Okay, where is your test? And second is like, I've said it like clearly. If you are like writing, you need to write a test. Even if you're not doing a regular day job, if someone asks you as well, hey, what is your style? You have to say, no, I write the test first. And I've seen like most of the time, like people like they end up doing coding first and they write the test in the end. But this is a style, like I would say. Use cool keyboard shortcuts. Israeli people have seen people like, in front of them you're writing code. Okay, I write, this cool keyboard like &T, my test case is popping up. I write, this is the thing like, if you really follow some of the keyboard shortcuts. Now, last is like, let's say in your organization, we are not adopting pair programming and we are just kind of discovering. So what could be alternate to a pair programming, we can do. So one is you can participate in coding dojos or hackathon events. So there's a places I worked earlier. I used to run coding dojo in every Friday. So we just kind of some activity, and out of that as well, like you get to know about other colleagues as well. If they not part of your team, you can always. And the way I used to do it, we decide a problem, and we randomly allocate a pair, and then we ask them to present a solution after 2 weeks. So the key thing is like the rationale behind the pair programming is like we want to have a good code quality and clean code principles. And this is like I think I've seen in every project, like there's a style of programming you see, and wherever you go there, you adopt it and you get used to with it. So changing that part, it comes when you overall have some level of education. Okay, I want to see some different style of pattern as well, and that really evolves when you get to see other people code. So for example, if you take up the same problem and you create different pairs, and when you see the presentation, the real learning comes out of it. Okay, this guy has written using functional style, and some guy is just using code like if-else kind of thing. So which approach is better? And these all things makes a big difference, like of your style. Do some remote code pairing session with friends. I have some friends like I think Ola is sitting in the back, right? So I do a lot of remote pairing with him. I really enjoy online. Sometimes we share the GoToMeeting and we just kind of try to do something. Even I've seen like I pair with some online courses as well. So I know there are loads of Udemy, Safari, and all that. So what I do is just run a course and get 3-4 friends just to come together and just jointly do it. So let's say you can push yourself to finish a course. That's another way of a pairing, like you write some code together and do it. You can contribute to open source. It's quite challenging because given the fact like busy is more demanding, but you can do that. Like that's also another way of getting into a pair programming kind of aspect. You can connect with me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I run this pair programming session. There's a company, metal.com. I invested in them, like it's based in India. I'm very happy the company sold for 30 million last week. So they're really good. And I really like they have a lot of products around it. Like, you can run hackathon, you can do different coding tests. So basically the way I do is, if somebody wants to do a pair programming, so we say, okay, fine, let's go through Metal, like, and we can give feedback on like your programming style. So basically the idea is we take up a problem and then afterwards you push your code on a GitHub and we review through our group members. The group I'm running, London IT Contractors Group. So you get a feedback on your coding style if you really want to improve like a pair programming part on this. Thank you very much. That's it from my end.